Hey everyone, Cindy Lou here with CHRO Mastermind Groups, and today we are going to chat about some success stories from our community of CHROs who I think, in my opinion, they've made it when something like this happens to them. So I've got 20 on my list. Hopefully, we'll be able to make it through it all. But first of all, if you're here joining us this afternoon, please say hello. Let us know where you're coming in from or dialing in from here. Once again, Cindy Lou with CHRO Mastermind Groups, and I've got Mark Bingham here with me as well, helping me with this LinkedIn live chat. All right. So let me go ahead and jump into this discussion. So these are stories that I've collected, just a few of the stories that I've collected throughout my time as facilitator for CHRO Mastermind Groups. And there's some really inspirational stories. And there are days where I feel like HR leaders, especially when you're in the top seat, it is not an easy job. And there's just so many things coming at you, whether you're trying to stand up HRIS implementation while your company's going through major M&A activity, through maybe a whole business restructuring. There's just a lot of things going on in addition to the day-to-day work that happens. And so when I hear about stories of CHROs, um, sharing stories with other CHROs, I think it's super inspirational and it gives you energy to hear these stories. So let me go through a few of these, or 20 of these today. Okay. One story is when I think you've made it when your CEO tells the other C-suite executives to come talk to you first before you go and talk to the CEO. So um, there's ideas, challenges, situations that come up. And Mark, I have to say that this was like one of the most impressive things I've heard is when the CEO says to the other C-suite peers, "Hey, go talk to the CHRO first about this before you come to me." All right. So I love it because that means they're a true business person. Number two, here's another one. When you're working with outside consultants, right? The management consulting firms, and one of the partners says to you, "Oh, I thought you were a business unit leader. I thought you ran a business unit based on the way you interacted in our strategy session." And to me, that's a huge compliment, right? That really means that you're a business first CHRO. And if you're in the audience and you think any of these are pretty cool, or you've experienced them yourselves, give me a thumbs up or a yes. Yes, you'd like to, you have experienced that before, or you think that's pretty cool. Okay. Number three is you get to spend something like 80% of your time on the business versus on HR. I think there's some Gartner reports that say, hey, you should be spending at least 60% of your time on the business versus in HR. But we have members who are like, hey, I spend upwards of 80% of my time on the business. So if you have a number in your mind, I think we did a poll, Mark, not too long ago, right, about this very same topic. And we'll have to go back and revisit that poll to see what most people had said as far as the percentage time they get to work on the business versus in HR. Number four is your team is able to handle all the C-suite meetings without you, right? So they're going to pull you in only when they need you involved, but you don't have to worry about your heads of total rewards or your heads of talent management, working with your C-suite, working with the boards. It's definitely an opportunity for you to be able to work on higher level strategic work when they're able to handle these meetings without you. So I think super impressive when you've, as a CHRO, been able to develop your team to that point. All right. Number five is HR is a feeder system of talent into the business. So years ago, when I was in Milwaukee, actually, there was an organization, finance organization, and they did an amazing job feeding talent from HR into the business unit. Like it was very frequent that these folks would go from HR into the business unit. I thought that was a super impressive um, testament, to the talent that they were bringing in, and the fact that they were promoting them or moving them into the business told me that they hired some great business people first. All right, here's another one. I love this one. So one of our members talked about how she never has any HR openings because everyone else in the organization wants to work in HR. So she has a ton of internal applicants from within HR or from within the organization who want to come work in HR. And it cracks me up because years ago, not too long ago, it'd be like if you got promoted from a business unit or, took a job in HR as a transition or rotational type of opportunity, people would often say to the CHROs, "Did you get demoted? Like, what happened? Are you getting squeezed out?" But the reality is that's changing because I think when HR is done well, the employees see like how impactful that can be on their careers, and it makes them actually want to go work in HR, which is awesome. All right, number 7 is your other C-suite peers want to adopt your strategic HR business partner strategy, right? So we always talk about these HR business partner uh, centers of excellence where their job is to be the liaison to the business and bring in the right resources from HR, right, in order to solve the business problems with talent solutions. And when it's done so well that your C-suite peers are like, hey, I want to implement that same kind of strategic business partner in my functional area, I think that's a testament to the fact that you've made it as a CHRO, right? Let's see. Number 8, your CEO asks you to recruit the next board member. That's cool because very often the CHRO is left out of those conversations. Board members are hired through search firms or HR is not consulted at all. But I've seen in more cases lately where the CHRO is directly responsible for leading that search and helping vet the board candidates before they get to the selection committee on the board. So that's a real testament that you made it when the CEO asks you to recruit board members. Isn't this inspirational? I mean, like, just me talking about these and recapping some of these stories gets me pretty jazzed up. And, as part of our mastermind groups, our members get to hear about these stories all the time from other members. We do something called, hey, like a lightning round throughout the membership where we talk about, hey, what's going well, what's a huge accomplishment you want to share with the group. And these kinds of groups, right, can be all, definitely working on challenges and working on what they need help on, but also we take the time to bring in the real positive energy of what's going well for you, what are some accomplishments that you can share with the other members that will lift them up, right? And so I've seen the energy levels kind of go from, well, I'm exhausted at 7:30 in the morning, to energized at the end of these calls when they've heard some of these stories. All right, number 9 is your peers in the C-suite call you the CEO whisperer. So that I thought was really cool. That they'll come and sort of run things by the CHRO to be like, how do I present this to the CEO? What would your recommendation be? Could you also help with that conversation? We had a vlog not too long ago that we shared on that topic, so feel free to search that up, or if you want to see it, ping me sometime in LinkedIn. Number 10, the company that you're at has had 3 CEOs in 3 years, and nobody's been able to stick around because it's just been this sort of revolving door of CEOs. But you've been there for over 3 years, and your C-suite says to you, wow, we've never had an HR executive like you. We've never had anybody who talks to us about the business, who is so interested in our outcomes as a business. So I think you've made it as a CHRO when that sort of thing happens. True story. Number 11, you know you made it as a CHRO when you're able to reposition HR so well that the business leaders are starting to line up to ask you to help them with their business problems, because you know it's always about people, right? The business challenges always tie back to people, and you're starting to see the, business leaders come and say, knock knock, we have this issue, and can we talk about it, and is there a solution to that? So when you actually have to turn away work or outsource the work or bring in outside consultants to help because your team is so overwhelmed, you know you have made it as a CHRO. Number 12, you are asked to lead the operating model transformation. So we heard about this not too long ago from one of our guest speakers. Not just you're asked to lead the conversation about talent or people, you're actually asked to lead the entire operating model transformation, because the CEO gets that you're touching everything. You see everything. So kind of gives me the chills just talking about that one. How about you guys? So say hello in the audience so we know that you're there. We actually have no way of knowing if you're there if you don't say hello. All right. Number 13, the CEO comes to your office multiple times a day just to bounce ideas off of you, right? I think that in this day and age of we are remote, we're sometimes in the office, maybe never in the office, it's a pretty cool thing, right, when the CEO is constantly popping in and wanting to bounce ideas off of you. I remember hearing this from one of our mastermind members, and I thought that's cool, right? When they're like, I need to ask your advice. And she said it's not always about HR stuff or talent stuff or people things, just wanting to bounce some ideas and get some perspective. So these are the types of things that our members get to hear about when they're in our groups. Number 14, the CEO tells you how much they value you for speaking truth to power. So we had one of our members talk about this at one of our events not too long ago, where there was a topic that maybe she didn't feel super comfortable going against the CEO or pushing back on, but then she thought, you know what, if I don't say it, who's going to? And sure enough, the CEO was like, I so appreciate that you are willing to say truth to power. And for those of you who have been in leadership roles, the higher up you get, the worse it gets as far as people willing to tell you the truth. So being able to speak truth to power is something, right, that you build over time, but also something that sometimes you just have to take that leap and jump in. All right. Number 15, your year-end presentation to the executive suite and to the board about what HR and talent has accomplished. Your CEO likes it so much that they say to their the other peers, right, the other C-suite leaders, I'd like for everybody to use this format or this template. So to me, that's pretty cool. It shows that you've got your marketing hat on, right, as a CHRO, not just spewing information, but it's been delivered in such a way that is super engaging to your CEO and other C-suite peers. Number 16, your team gets the most out of budget initiatives approved because you have built such an amazing, high-performing HR team that learns how to speak the language of the business, and they learn how to propose projects where they're like, the business units are like, yeah, of course we should do that, and I'll fund it, right? So I know many of you have experienced that before, where there's just not the budget dollars available within HR, but it needs to be done. The project needs to be done in order for the business to achieve their goals. And so your team has been trained in a way by you that they get these projects approved even when it's out of budget and somebody else has to fund it. So I think those are situations where that your influence skills have really kicked in, and your coaching skills, right, around teaching your team how to get these things approved. Number 17, your CHRO peers in other companies reach out to you frequently because they know you've built such a high-performing HR function that they want to know how you did it. And these are also, just awesome moments in our groups where, I see somebody telling a story about how they have implemented some major initiative, whether it's, an ERP implementation, whether it's getting their, leadership development programs approved, or it's how they have influenced the way the company manages change. And the other members are like taking rapid notes. And I'm like, this is really cool, right? That the other members are finding such value. And so if you think you would find value as a CHRO in joining a mastermind group where you have a group of peers there sharing their success stories, where you get to share your success stories, feel free to reach out to me, and we'll schedule some time to find out if it's a good fit. All right, number 18, you have developed such an amazing HR leaders that many of them get promoted into CHRO roles outside of your organization. I know that doesn't sound great because you're like, oh, this person is my right hand, they're amazing. But there are organizations called Academy HR organizations where the HR leaders there are the organization's so well known for producing top talent, right? And so they become known as Academy HR organizations. And these people are very often, they land in CHRO roles. There's some that I know of that they have more CHROs in the marketplace than others. And it sounds like you're losing great talent, but you know what? There's going to be a flow of amazing talent following all the time, because people know that if they get to work for you, they're getting promoted somehow, whether in the organization or out. And so we have actually at our big HR event, South Florida, our big CHRO event in South Florida, January 30th, we've got a panel of CHROs who are going to talk about just that, how to create an Academy HR organization. Okay. Number 19, your company's PE firm recommends you for a board seat on one of their other portfolio companies. That's amazing. Like, first of all, just to get on a board for a CHRO is no easy task, but for your very own PE firm to be like, hey, we want to recommend you to another one of our PE firms to be on their board because you're doing amazing things at your company. And that is the kind of people that we get to hang out with at these mastermind groups. Pretty amazing. And number 20, I really like this one. Number 20, you made it as a CHRO when your CEO keeps asking if you want to be their successor. So one of our members said that to me. I'm like, oh, that's so great. And yes, I can see that in you. I can see that you could be a CEO. She happens to love her role as a CHRO, but I thought that was just amazing that CEO was asking their CHRO that question. So if you're a CEO and you aren't thinking that about your CHRO, even if they don't want the role, you got to be thinking about, how can I as a CEO be developing my CHRO in a different way? Maybe you want to send them to a mastermind group for CHROs. All right. So this is Cindy Liu with CHRO Mastermind Groups. I can't believe we got that all done in less than 20 minutes. Feel free to ping me if you have any questions about our mastermind groups. And if you are feeling burned out because you're just in the day-to-day all the time, right? Like, it's so easy just to be heads down. Feels like there's fire after fire, and you're not lifting your head up, and you're not, re-energizing by learning and developing. In fact, Mark and I just had this conversation a couple weeks ago. I had just come off of multiple events, and it had been a really, really busy fall between work and kid stuff and college stuff. And I was like, Mark, I'm just so burned out. Like, I am so burned out. And lots of weekends I work, both Saturday and Sunday morning. And the advice was, you got to take the time off. And I'm like, that's easier said than done, right? When you got all these projects staring at you. Well, it turns out we had guests in town the last 2 weekends. I was forced to take those 2 weekends off. And although going out and partying is exhausting too for me, it was just sort of the mental break I needed. So even though I wasn't getting much sleep because we're out partying and having fun, I was still, like, I think mentally re-energized. Maybe to Mark's dismay. He's like, oh my gosh, here comes the project. Here's everything coming at me now. Anyway, so I think that as a CHRO, if you don't take the time to shut down the tactical treadmill that you're on and come into a group where you get to re-energize, you get to share your experiences, right? There's something so exciting about that too. Being able to share your own experiences and helping others, that's energizing. Be able to hear others and get inspired with their stories. We need that in today's world. All right, folks, ping me if you're interested. We will have another LinkedIn Live probably in a couple weeks, so look forward to seeing you guys then. Take care. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Sandy.